The meadow stretched as far as the eye could see, glowing under the warm embrace of the summer sun. Tall blades of grass swayed gently in the breeze, whispering secrets to one another. Wildflowers painted the land in shades of yellow, purple, and white, and the hum of bees filled the air. It was a place of abundance, where life seemed effortless and time moved lazily. In this peaceful world lived a grasshopper who believed that every day was meant for joy. The grasshopper was unlike any other creature in the meadow. While others busied themselves with gathering food or building homes, he preferred to leap from leaf to leaf, enjoying the rhythm of life. His long legs carried him effortlessly across the field, and his laughter rang as brightly as the sunlight. To him, the world was a stage, and he was its performer. Clutched in his tiny hands was his most prized possession, a beautifully crafted violin made from polished wood and delicate strings. He had found it long ago, abandoned near the roots of an old tree, and since then, it had never left his side. Whenever he played, the meadow seemed to pause and listen. Even the wind softened, as if not to disturb his melody. One morning, as the grasshopper played a lively tune, an ant appeared along a narrow dirt path cutting through the meadow. Unlike the carefree grasshopper, the ant moved with purpose. His small body carried a grain of wheat nearly twice his size. Each step was a struggle, yet he did not slow down. The grasshopper noticed the ant and stopped playing mid-tune. He tilted his head curiously, watching the tiny worker strain under the weight. To the grasshopper, it seemed absurd. Why would anyone work so hard on such a beautiful day? "Hello there," the grasshopper called out cheerfully, hopping closer. "Why burden yourself like that when the sun is shining and the day is perfect?" His tone was light, almost teasing, as he leaned casually against a blade of grass. The ant paused, adjusting his grip on the grain. He looked up at the grasshopper, his expression calm but serious. "I am gathering food," he replied. "Winter will come, and I must be prepared." His voice was steady, shaped by experience and discipline. The grasshopper burst into laughter, a bright and carefree sound that echoed across the meadow. "Winter," he said, waving his violin dismissively. "That's ages away. Why worry about something so distant when you can enjoy today?" The ant did not laugh. Instead, he studied the grasshopper for a moment, as if trying to understand him. "Because when winter arrives," the ant said quietly, "it will not wait for you to be ready." With that, he continued on his path, step by determined step. The grasshopper watched him go, shaking his head in amusement. Then, without another thought, he raised his violin and began to play once more. The music soared through the meadow, light and joyful, as if nothing in the world could ever change. The ant returned along the same path later that afternoon, this time carrying a smaller seed. The sun had begun its slow descent, casting long golden shadows across the meadow. The grasshopper was still there, perched comfortably on a tall stem, playing a softer, slower tune. His eyes were half closed, lost in the music, as if nothing else in the world mattered. As the ant passed by, the grasshopper lowered his violin and smiled. "You're still working?" he asked, genuinely surprised. "You must be exhausted." He stretched lazily, as though the mere idea of constant effort made him tired. The ant stopped briefly, though his body seemed reluctant to rest. "Yes," he replied simply. "There is much to be done, and little time to waste." His voice carried no complaint, only quiet determination. "But look around you," the grasshopper insisted, gesturing at the glowing meadow. "Food is everywhere. You could gather it any time. Why not enjoy yourself now and work later?" He plucked a nearby leaf and tossed it playfully into the air. The ant followed the arc of the falling leaf with his eyes before answering. "Later does not always come when we expect it," he said. "And when it does, it may already be too late." Without waiting for a reply, he continued forward. The grasshopper frowned slightly, puzzled by the ant's seriousness. For a moment, he considered the words. But the warmth of the sun and the gentle breeze quickly pulled him back into comfort. He shrugged off the thought and lifted his violin again. As his music filled the air, a group of birds gathered on nearby branches. They chirped along happily, swaying to the rhythm. A pair of butterflies fluttered in looping patterns, as though dancing to his tune. The grasshopper smiled proudly. This was his gift, his purpose. Meanwhile, the ant reached the entrance of his colony, a small opening hidden beneath a mound of soil and grass. Several other ants moved in and out, each carrying food. Together, they formed an unbroken chain of effort, every movement precise and purposeful. Inside the colony, the ant carefully placed the seed among many others. The storage chambers were already filling, but there was still space to be filled. He paused only briefly before turning back toward the surface, ready to continue his work. Back in the meadow, the grasshopper played louder and faster, as if to drown out the quiet voice of doubt that had briefly crossed his mind. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in